welcome to this segment of Yavapai Speaks. I think you're going to be really particularly interested in this segment because I have two mayors of two cities. How about that? One is Mayor Jablow from Sedona. Now that's in Yavapai County, so that helps a lot because we're talking about Yavapai County. So Mayor Jablow is in the studio with me, sitting next to me, and he drove all the way down from Sedona. Our other special guest is the mayor of Lake Havasu. Now that's over in Mojave County, and that's Mayor Sheehy, and he's in his office. He didn't want to drive all the way over to see me, so I said that's I won't be able to go back to Lake Havasu ever again, folks, but that's okay. Or maybe Sedona. So
no, you're welcome.
Okay, so I can go to Sedona. So I have two mayors. And I think what's going to happen here as I start to talk with them, you're going to be rather surprised, maybe even shocked, small s, but shocked at what's going to be shared. I've been aware of this now for 3-4 weeks. They've been living with what you're about to listen to for a couple of years. Mayor Sheehy has been the mayor of Lake Havasu for 6 years. And he's been battling this thing, as we're going to find out, almost from day one. And then Mayor of Sedona, you've been battling it also from day one.
A long time.
Haven't you? Okay. So you're both, these mayors are going to share some things that I find very troubling. And what they both have shared with me already is that other mayors, correct me, mayors, other mayors around the state of Arizona, not just in northern Arizona, but in mostly rural, now there may be in Maricopa County, but in rural Arizona are facing the same dilemma that these two mayors are. So thank you, gentlemen, so much for taking time out of, mayors have busy days. So thank you. Thank you for joining us. What's the problem that I'm talking about? I know it's a riddle, but what's the problem I'm talking about?
Short-term rentals.
Short-term rentals, and Mayor Sheehy, same problem, short-term rentals. What's the problem with short-term rentals?
Well, because the initial 1350 bill was really designed for helping the elder people who couldn't afford to stay in their homes, that they could rent out a room or two while living in their home, and they can earn the extra money, and then we would have extra hotel rooms. Now, Sedona is not short hotel rooms at all. We now have an extra 3,000 hotel rooms in addition to our hotels. But while the initial intent was to be for an individual to rent part of their home, it's ballooned to be way more than that. We now have corporations and LLCs buying homes exclusively to turn them into mini hotels. And in certain parts of the city, we have more short-term rental houses than we have people actually living as residents.
Mayor Sheehy, the same issue in Lake Havasu.
Yeah, I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing Mayor Jablow, but short-term rentals really have been a long-standing issue in our community. Prior to the state legislature taking action in 2016, preempting cities and towns from managing at a local level, we were able to manage it locally, and we were able to peacefully coexist and be able to allow folks to rent out their homes on a short-term basis if they wanted to, without it creating the impacts that we're now seeing. But I'm sure with my conversations with Mayor Jablow, we now are having housing challenges. We have challenges recruiting people to be able to come to our areas, increasing housing prices, along with nuisance type activities. But the legislature has worked over several sessions to help us with a lot of the nuisance issues. Now it's just, how do we solve this housing crisis, and how do we get neighborhoods back into our communities, and how can we manage that? Which there is solutions. We just need to be able to have a seat at the table as a city or town.
Let me follow up with something and then come over here to the mayor of Sedona. But one of the things he shared with me in subsequent meetings we've had is that you are having real issues, not on paper and made up, but very real issues hiring teachers, policemen, and medical people. And you're having real issues, again, not just on paper or figuratively speaking, maintaining or keeping hourly employees, restaurant employees, things like that. Is that true over in Havasu?
Yes, it's very true. I mean, every day we make offers for public safety personnel or educators, and they may accept the position, and then they look at the housing market and realize there isn't any. And unique to like Havasu is we don't have any additional bedroom communities. The nearest communities to us are about an hour's drive away, with really nothing in between our community and our neighboring communities.
Okay.
So we're not even able to balance any of the outskirts of our area to try and find housing solutions because of the geography, topography, and the ownership of those lands that are adjacent to our community.
So similar to Sedona, similar to Lake Havasu and other cities across Arizona,
Right.
I could have a whole room full, a studio full of mayors, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not being funny, but a whole room full. Mm-hmm. And what I would hear mayor to mayor to mayor is a very similar problem or plight where you're not able to keep teachers in your schools. You may be short 5 teachers, let's say. And so you hire, and the superintendent in the school district, they hire and they finally get them. They can't live in Sedona. They can't stay at the school because there's no place to live.
Right. Well, what's interesting, Mayor Sheehy said that the closest bedroom community is, drive away. We have other communities of Sedona nearby in the Verde Valley. We have Camp Verde, we have Clarkdale, we have Cottonwood. And there too, they are having similar problems. And while those communities used to be the bedroom community, the working people for Sedona, those rentals, which were long-term rentals, have now also turned into short-term rentals, or the rents have gotten so high, $3,000 for a house for long-term rental, where the teachers can't afford to live there.
I'm just trying to understand for everybody. $3,000 a month for a house? Okay. Teachers not making
No, they're not.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
So, but before, a whole house would have been maybe $1,600, and teachers would be able to afford those, or people working in the tourist industry, maybe for the hotels, or stocking shelves, or management for our food stores. We have 4 food stores in Sedona and the VOC. They're challenged for keeping employees for the same reason. But what I also learned is very interesting. I talked to the CEO of Northern Arizona Healthcare, and he's having a problem hiring medical professionals of all types, including surgeons, including doctors. They'll hire them, and they want to hire a younger doctor that will have longevity in their system. Well, some of them, they don't want to live in an area surrounded by hotels, mini hotels or short-term rentals, right? But the housing is so overinflated because when these companies come in and buy houses, they pay cash, and they're willing to pay between $50,000 and $100,000 at times over the asking price just to get that house in their portfolio. And now people who want to become my neighbor, if you will, they can't afford those houses. Even people, $600,000, $700,000 was fair market value only a couple of years ago before short-term rentals. Now those same houses are going for well over $1 million or 1.2.
Same problem in Lake Havasu, Mayor? Houses are being overpriced for people to purchase. So I put my house on the market for $200,000. I'm just $500,000. And because there's such a shortage, and these companies are coming in saying, we'll pay you $100,000 more.
Yeah, we're having a little bit of a different challenge when it comes to that, but very similar. We have a lot of second homes in our market. And as the housing prices have gone up, or the work relationships have changed, some of our second home owners have either decided to move up their retirement and move here, which then displaced a long-term rental, or investors come in and buy these homes as they're seeing elevated cost or elevated values, which then prohibit a long-term renter from that as well, or someone buying the house to live in it as a single-family home. So ours is kind of a multi-pronged issue when it comes to that. We don't actually have investor groups necessarily coming in and buying big blocks, but we do have them buying one house at a time, which is then limiting the number of long-term rental opportunities or opportunities for our residents to be able to purchase a home.
Now, one of the things I learned from the mayor of Sedona when we were up there being briefed, and then subsequently you and I have talked, is that this type of dilemma that's been going on with these bed and breakfast, is that what you guys call it also?
Well, Airbnb.
The Airbnbs,
but it's,
is that it's breaking up neighborhoods.
That's true.
Is that true, Mayor, in Lake Havasu?
Yes, taking the neighbors out of the neighborhood. And so, when you're having a transient person coming into the neighborhood multiple times throughout a week, there's no way to really build continuity. The other challenge that we're finding is that Lake Havasu City has been a community built on tourism since the very beginning. We have the world famous London Bridge here. We have great outdoor recreational opportunities, and we have amazing events. Those events and these tourism opportunities for our citizens, which attracted many of our residents to move here in the first place, are now have a bullseye on them because people don't like any type of tourism, because at this point they just can't even sleep at night because of some of the challenges that these short-term rentals are having in the neighborhoods. Now, again, I do appreciate the work of the legislature working on giving us some more ability to manage those that way. But really, we advocate for local control. It's, government closest to the people is the most effective. And, there's things that we can do here in Lake Havasu City that would work for our community and allow Mayor Jablow and his colleagues on the council to do things unique to Sedona so they can manage it in their community. But that's what we need, is to be able to manage this at the local level like we were able to do prior to the 2016 exemption.
Would you say, Mayor, and you're not speaking for anybody,
I'm speaking for myself, of course.
Okay, but I'm going to push you on something. I just heard the mayor of Havasu just say, would you suggest, how about that? Would it be suggestive that 10, 20 other mayors would say about the same thing you're saying?
I would say way more than that.
Way more than that. And is this in rural Arizona, not just northern Arizona, but Cochise County, Greenlee County?
Well, I'm trying to speak to all 90, well, I'm 91, but the other 90 mayors throughout the state, and trying to get them to provide a resolution, which is something that Sedona has done. We've declared a housing emergency and created a resolution that puts everything in writing. And we're trying to get other mayors on board. And not all the mayors are on board. Some don't have a problem with it, and that's fine. Some have different challenges as well.
Well, all right. I can appreciate and respect that some mayors may not have the problem you're having. I respect that. But there are a number of mayors and community cities that are having this problem.
Yes, sir.
How many would you, just guess, in your opinion, and Mayor, same question here.
I would say,
what would you guess?
An overwhelming number of, I would say 50 or more.
50 mayors.
If I had to guess. How about you,
No, it's
Kevin?
okay. It's okay. We're not, Mayor Sheehy, how many mayors?
I'm with Mayor Jablow. It's, and more to the point, just outside of even mayors, the challenge we have is that the members of the legislature, some of them are in districts that completely are not impacted by short-term rentals at all. So they don't engage in the conversation because they don't have an understanding from their community. Then there's other legislators that have, some of their cities have the challenge, others don't within their district. And then there's other districts that, most of the incorporated areas have challenges. So I know we're focused a little bit on rural, but it also is impacting the urban areas, Paradise Valley, Scottsdale. I mean, some of the more metropolitan areas are also impacted by these same challenges with short-term rentals.
This may seem like a really strange question, but it's my show, so I get to do things like that. Yeah, it goes with the rules, And I'm not setting you up, but this is a sensitive question maybe, but it's not on purpose. Would you think that the mayor of Scottsdale would agree with you guys? In your opinion, not as mayor, not officially, but just as your opinion, would you?
I could speak from experience. I know Mayor Ortega, who now left the mayor position, he was on board with us. The new mayor, I don't know where she is.
And that's okay. That's okay. Mayor?
Yeah, I just met the new mayor of Scottsdale just in the last week. But previously, Mayor Ortega was involved. We also were working with the mayor of Paradise Valley prior to the new mayor being elected in November. So yes, they've been at the table with us as we've been trying to craft legislation that is palatable to get through the legislature and signed by the governor over the last several legislative sessions.
Okay. And couple, because that's Scottsdale, Paradise Valley. Okay. But what I'm hearing you both say is there's like maybe 50 mayors around the state of Arizona that could come in the studio right here and join us. And basically you all would finish each other's sentences because you're having the same problems.
Right.
Is that right?
And there's certain cities that have different problems that we weren't even aware of. An example, Williams, for example.
Okay.
Okay, now Sedona, our short-term rental number is 18% of our total housing inventory. In Williams, their number is 15.5%. But while they have a problem with the lack of workforce housing, they have a big community of Section 8 or really affordable housing. They're losing that because the owners of those properties have decided to go in a different direction. And now instead of renting them for Section 8, they're renting them for short-term rentals and their profits are way increased. And they don't know where to put these people. They have now a totally different problem.
And usually, again, just generally speaking, gentlemen, usually Section 8 housing folks are hourly working.
Right.
Okay. So they could lose all of that.
They have lost.
So Williams, the city of Williams, could have a problem getting help,
Yes.
Mayor, any section, and I don't know this, I haven't been to Havasu in a couple of years. I'm being really serious. Any Section 8 housing in Havasu?
It's limited. We've really advocated for diversity of housing solutions for folks and have done that through different zoning actions. Yeah, it is there and it's available from a voucher standpoint. But it's hard to find and it's hard to get those services if you need those services.
Now you're over again in Mojave County, Lake Havasu. Same issue in Kingman, which is north of you.
Kingman has different challenges with it. Of course, I don't want to speak for the city of Kingman, but they have hotel offerings. They also are adjacent to the Yavapai Mountains, which does get a lot of visitors into that area. They're also Route 66 and the gateway to the Grand Canyon in Las Vegas. So, there are challenges there as well when it comes to it. But we're at the point now with the work that has been done through cities and towns working with the legislature is now we all have the challenges still with short-term rentals, but now they're much more unique and nuanced by the community. So each community is a little different. Some of us are dealing with housing stock and housing availability and the ability to house our citizens. Others are dealing with losing the characters of their neighborhoods. So each one is just a little bit different at this point, and we just need to continue to have the ability at the local level to make those decisions that make sense for our individual communities.
And what the mayor is talking about, Mayor, is neighborhoods losing their identity.
That's correct.
And you're having the same problem.
Absolutely. You can go into my neighborhood, which I live, for those who are familiar with Sedona, in the Chapel neighborhood, which is just below the Chapel of the Holy Cross. And I would say 35 to 40% of the houses in my neighborhood are short-term rentals. And sometimes you can go down one whole block and only 2 of those are owned and occupied. All the rest are short-term rentals.
So help me, and I'll apologize and stay away from Havasu and Sedona for a while on this question. Okay?
Here we go.
No, there's no here we go. I mean, you didn't give me dessert when I had lunch with you.
That's right.
I'm dealing with it. I'm working through it. I'm going to Havasu from now on.
And you'll have dessert there.
Yeah, they have dessert in Havasu. So this is, all kidding aside, but this is a simple question by design. I want to make sure I understand what you both are saying, and I want to make sure our viewers are. If I owned a house in your cities, I bought it 10 years ago, 20 years ago, $200,000, $400,000 house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, nice house. And I see where I can be making more money by turning it into what you're all talking about here. I don't live in Havasu or Sedona anymore. I live in Prescott, let's say, but my house is still in Havasu or Sedona. And I've turned it into this rental and I'm charging big fees and I'm making buku money,
Right.
but I'm not living there.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you all are saying? And that's what you're seeing?
I'm seeing that tenfold, because what I'm seeing now is people who even live in Sedona, they are back a couple of years when the housing was still a little bit more affordable, they have bought 5 and 10 homes in the city. They don't live in any of them. Remember I talked about the beginning of 1350?
Yes.
It was supposed to be for someone living in a home. Well, these people have 5 or 10 homes. They're renting them out. They're beautiful homes. They've been redone, everything else. But they're turning the city into one big hotel. They don't live there.
Wow.
Okay. I have a house, again, in the Chapel neighborhood, 6,000 square feet. And that's to code. And I believe it has 11 bedrooms, each one separate. And it's a true bed and breakfast. It has a swimming pool. It has other amenities. They're taking advantage of everything they can for the profit.
Same in Havasu? A
With
nice
the-
home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, our residential estate areas, it's the most ideal for some of these investors to purchase short-term rentals because they're larger and have more bedrooms, where you can, it's advantageous then to sell that and market it. So yeah, that is.
And and Mayor, the investor's not living in Havasu or Sedona. They live in wherever.
I have some people living in California, in New York.
Okay. And they're making money out of Havasu or Sedona, wherever else. But they're not really involved in the community. They're not involved. Do they pay taxes into the community?
Yeah, they pay real estate taxes and bed taxes. So they do pay some taxes when it comes to that. And, and it's not necessarily, people are allowed to make an investment and do those types of things. It's really it's repurposing a single family residential home into a commercial entity inside of a neighborhood, taking away the character of a neighborhood. That's, investors can make investment. That's fine, but we also need to be able to protect the zoning laws that we have in the state of Arizona and protect neighborhoods for people that have also made an investment, but they made an investment for their family to put down roots and call Lake Havasu City home.
Well, I'm going to ask you, let me close this segment out. I'd like to ask you both to come back, but I'd like to do something else, if I may. I'd like the two of you to really see if you can talk to other mayors, your colleagues, and maybe we can bring mayors together. I know you said 50. Well, maybe we bring 50 of them together, but let's say we brought 10 or 12 together, and we put together like a town hall meeting with mayors, and we allow the public across the state of Arizona to hear what's going on. I'd like you to think about that. Secondly, as a closing statement, I'd like each of you to just give me and our viewers a closing statement as to what you think is the real problem here. What's the crux of the problem? You've addressed some things here today that are alarming, but I'm going to ask you, because I'm older than both of you, so I can do it. It's my show. Okay. Well, and I can't go to Havasu and Sedona anymore, but I'm going to press you both. Give me really a 60-second, what's the problem? What's the problem? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been rather eye-opening. These two mayors are fighting something that I don't think most people knew. And you've heard just a glimpse of it here today because of time. But I think both of these mayors are sincerely fighting a fight and almost putting uphill, if I may, gentlemen. And so this is going to open a door that we're going to follow through on. And maybe we can bring 10, 20 mayors together and we put together a couple of segments, specials with mayors, kind of in the bleachers. Wouldn't that be fun to see? 20 mayors in the bleachers together? Wow. Don't know if I could do that, but we'll see if we can. And we listen to these experts who are dealing with this problem. They can't get teachers. They can't get maintenance people. They can't get firemen. Huh?
Doctors. What about doctors?
Can't get
Healthcare.
doctors.
Right.
So this is really alarming, and I thank both of you. Mayors are busy, all kidding aside for 30 seconds, okay? You guys are busy, and thank you for taking time out to join us, and thank you for pulling the curtain back a little bit. We need to do this again, And with your permission, we will, and maybe we can push it and we get some other mayors on board. This is really concerning to cities like you're the chief executive officers. So thank you both. Mayor Jablow, I'll have you go first. Give me a closing statement on the problem.
Well, the problem is the lack of local control. The state legislature removed local control when they gave us these short-term rentals by not allowing us to have a cap, a simple cap, by setting a number. Like I said before, we're at 18%, but we could have had a cap at 5% or 7% or 10% like other cities across the country, but we're not allowed to cap at all. And just so people understand, when we do set a cap or there is allowed to do anything of a change, the ones that are in place are grandfathered in. They won't go away unless they decide to take them off the market. But we will not be eliminating the ones that are pre-existing.
Okay.
Because we're not going to put anybody out of business. That's not what we're looking to do.
Mayor Sheehy?
Yeah, once again, thank you so much for the opportunity to address this situation that's happening in the state of Arizona. Also, I'd like to thank Mayor Jablow for his leadership on bringing together cities and mayors. The city of Sedona has been at the forefront of this since the very beginning, and Lake Havasu City has joined in them over multiple administrations as we work through these challenges. I view this challenge as really local control. This is an issue that we need to be able to address from a local perspective. There's different impacts to different communities within the state of Arizona that do have common thread or commonality, but we really need to be able to have local control. This is not a statewide concern. And if we had that local control, we would be able to address the situation as is appropriate for each of our respective communities.
Thank you both. I hope this hasn't been frustrating because I know you're just scratching the surface. And I asked you if you would mind coming on and we're going to scratch the surface. But this is even more alarming having listened to you both now. So I'm going to ask you to come back and I'm going to really, in my whatever way I may, ask you if we could get 10 other mayors and we'll figure out a platform to do this. I think the people need to hear from you. You're dealing with this every day. You're getting teachers who can't teach, firemen that can't protect, police officers, doctors. You can't get help. I did not realize it was this deep of a problem and pervasive. So thank you for taking the time out. Ladies and gentlemen, this is concerning, and I hope you've learned something. I know we've scratched just the tip of this whole thing, but thank Mayor Jablow of Sedona and Mayor Sheehy of Lake Havasu for taking time out and being willing to pull the curtain back a little bit. It's politically not safe sometimes. You have people who are waiting to take pot shots at you, I'm sure. But there's a bigger problem here. And I thank both of these gentlemen for joining us. My guests have been Mayor Sheehy of Lake Havasu City and Mayor Jablow of Sedona. And I hope you learned something. I really mean that. And thank you for joining me on Yavapai Speaks. And I look forward to seeing you next time.